Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me here live for Level Up. I'm excited to have you as part of today's conversation. Let's get going.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market updates. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, Forbes contributor, CNBC council member, and award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of all things relevant, trending business. And that's the key. Relevant trending business. Every day there's always something new, but some of it I just feel like isn't really going to change your life. And so why am I sharing that? But that's what I try to do each show. I want to make sure bring you something of value. But most important, what makes our show so much fun, as you know, is that you are part of today's discussion. We are live. This is not like regular TV that you're watching at home. This is somewhere where you actually can talk to me, you can tell me what you're thinking. I love to get your interaction. So if you're watching me live, definitely let me know where you're joining us from. As a reminder, we are live on multiple social media platforms, at least 8 each and every day. So it really means a lot to have you join us here. So let's start and talk about how the market closed. Now, unfortunately, we know yesterday was great. I was hoping to continue that today, but not so much luck. The Dow closed down almost 200 points, down 194. Nasdaq, though, still in the positive, up 14, which is good because yesterday it was up as well. And the S&P 500 down 3.54 for the day. So, yeah, it's one of those days. What are you going to do? As you know, you may have seen yesterday, the market did quite well because Fed Chairman Jerome Powell indicated that, in fact, there looks like the chance that they'll be increasing interest rates at a slower pace. So now that we're talking about interest rates, you might be wondering if all this talk about interest rates and increasing interest rates, aside from the fact that it's made new mortgages more expensive, if you have credit card debt, you might be seeing that go up as well. Is it really working though? Is it really working? Well, the answer is probably and maybe yes, because today my friend Jeff Cox on CNBC actually shared that, in fact, inflation for the month of October did rise, but certainly not to the levels that we had previously seen and not to the levels of expectations. And therefore, the rate of increasing of prices in the month of October, you could say is actually a positive effect of potentially increasing interest rates. Things aren't going up as high as they were in previous months. But one area that we also did know is in terms of personal income. Personal income, though, did increase significantly more at 0.7% versus the 0.4% that analysts were expecting. So it's kind of like neither here nor there. Yes, the things get more expensive, not as much as people expected, but let's be honest. These have been going up for so long already. So you're like, at some point, it probably needed to decrease, or consumers weren't going to be buying and paying more for it, right? So maybe that's what we're seeing. Well, the other number that came in today that we're really paying attention to is, of course, jobless claims here in the United States. Now, jobless claims means the amount of people filing for unemployment, right? So if we're seeing a larger jobless claim number, that's kind of seen as a negative because a lot of people have lost their jobs. Well, interesting enough, that number actually declined from the previous week. So you could again say that was somewhat positive. Take it with what you will with a grain of salt. Is the economy really that much better as we go into the end of the year? You might be doing your holiday shopping. I certainly have to do some holiday shopping. I mean, Santa's got to deliver, right? Unfortunately, things still continue to look very, very expensive, and you're not looking at a lot of excess inventory as well. And of course, there's still a lot of global economic concerns all over. So, a lot of things that we're still keeping an eye on. Now, another area that I wanted to make sure to put on your radar, because it's certainly on my radar and that of many people that I work with, is the issue of cybersecurity and security of passwords as we go into the end of the year. I mean, you might be like myself, well, you just have so many passwords to keep on top of, right? Whether you go to this website or that website, it's impossible for you to really remember hundreds of passwords all the time. So many of us use a password manager. And I see Tara joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us. You might do this as well, Tara. We know that a lot of people use password managers. Some of you may use the one that's built into your browser. If you're a Google user, maybe you're using one on Chrome or whatnot. But there has to be some sort of system to keep those passwords not only memorable, but most importantly, safe. Well, one of the biggest password manager companies on the planet is a company called LastPass. And I wanted to put this on your radar because as a LastPass user, this is something I wanted to know about and I wanted to share with all of you. Well, did you know in the last few months, there's been three attacks on their security system. Their security system, which is supposed to keep our passwords safe. Yes, in fact, this is a major password manager. And unfortunately, this is the second breach in 3 months that they've had. And get this, the breaching or attempted breaching company is the same one going after their company. So the CEO of LastPass is saying that they understand, they've detected, they've seen like quote unquote unusual activity. But they said that so far, our passwords are still safely encrypted. The system is still working. Right before I joined you here, I tested it out to make sure. But the company is also recommending, even if you don't use LastPass, I think it's very, very much relevant as we go into the end of the year and, of course, into the new year, is to practice really safe ways to protect your identification, your personal information, your PII, right? And make sure that you are following those best practices of making sure that your password to your password manager is safe. And of course, if you can, set up multi-factor authentication. I would also add for those of you who are like, yeah, I got that, I check, I'm good in terms of security. Take a look and reach out to maybe the senior members of your household, your friends and family, because let me tell you, many of them, like I have to check out my parents' information for a long time. Now I have to check on my mom's stuff just to see if they are also properly protected. Because this is that time of the year where you have a lot of people trying to hack into passwords and use your money and all that bad stuff. So not a good thing. I want to welcome. I see Ali joining us on LinkedIn Live. I hope it's Ali or Ali. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, Vicky Garvey, always a treat to have you here with us as well. Facebook Live. We missed you last couple days, but welcome back. It's great to see you. Now, of course, it wouldn't be quite a level up week if we didn't get a chance to talk about one of the biggest business people on the planet. He also happens to be the biggest or the richest person in the world, the one and only Elon Musk. Now, you might be wondering, am I going to talk about Twitter drama again? Well, maybe, but. Before we get there, let's talk about his recent meeting with Tim Cook. Now, Tim Cook, as you know, is the head of Apple, and Tim Cook has, traditionally been seen as quite the professional, tries to stay away from anything too controversial. Well, if you've been following and Elon news in the last couple days, you know that he has a bone to pick with Tim Cook and Apple, and he felt that, Tim Cook was actually going to kick the Twitter app off the Apple iTunes store, which is not a good thing because we know that there are a lot of Apple device users here in the United States as well as abroad. And I know Vicky is one of their users as well. Well, if you can't get Twitter on your app, that would Twitter app on your phone, that would actually be pretty difficult for some levels of communication, right? It's certainly a bad thing when you own a huge app such as Twitter or a big social media company as Twitter. Well, Elon did what I think actually was very, very smart. Instead of he hawing and complaining on Twitter, he actually went and made a meeting with Tim Cook, which turned out looks like it actually ended up being very good. Elon shared this on Twitter. Thanked Tim for the tour of the beautiful Apple headquarters. I guess he hadn't been there before, but he loved it. And he also said that it was a misunderstanding. So maybe we should say, Mr. Musk, what did you learn from this experience of this week? Perhaps you shouldn't jump the gun and like go on Twitter and complain and yell and hoo ha ha. Why don't you just pick up the phone or, get in one of your fancy Teslas and make the drive over and have a one-on-one conversation. It seemed like it worked out really, really well. And so therefore, they said there was a complete misunderstanding. Twitter was never going to be completely removed from the App Store at Apple. So we can all breathe a little relief, I guess, but especially for Elon Musk. But, maybe like have these conversations, pick up the phone, get on Slack. I mean, send an email, whatever it is that you do, but don't jump the gun and like saying bad things about people on social media because it's not a good look, Mr. Musk. That's what I'm gonna say. But anyhow, it looks like their relationship for the meanwhile seems a little bit better. And while we're at it, that's not the only company he's running, right? So then Elon also, he's got a busy week, also said yesterday that he is very close to being comfortable with having a chip put into his brain. That's right. Because his other company that he runs, Neuralink, in fact, has created these brain chips that are going to human that are actually about to go into human trials in the next 6 months. They said they've been testing these on animals for quite some time. They've done all of the work to get FDA approval. But what this is about, this is sort of, I had to do some more research on this because I want to share this with you because I'm like, what would this chip do in his brain? Like, would it collect all the data and like what would it do? So basically, by having one of these chips, they actually could help restore a person's vision, which is a really big thing. In fact, it even says even if you were actually born blind, it might actually be able to restore you to your like eyes full body functionality, quote unquote, which is kind of exciting. This was actually shared also on CNBC. CNBC also reported that these chips could potentially help people who have had damaged spinal cords, right? Help them with movement, help them with speech and communication. Um, so yeah, so these chips, they're waiting for permission from the FDA, but Mr. Musk, Elon has said that the paperwork's already there. They're just waiting for approval to be able to implant one of these chips into a human brain. But in the meantime, it is always already being tested into animal brains as we speak. And so he is saying not to worry. It may feel like it's taking forever, but once we get approval, it'll happen very, very quickly. This is what he is saying. So I'm curious to see those of you who are listening and you're here with me. How do you feel about that? Would you feel comfortable having a chip in your brain? I don't know. I think, I don't know how like his board members and investors would feel about the CEO of like not just Tesla, but now we're talking Neuralink, and we're talking Twitter, we're talking SpaceX, putting a chip in his brain. That better be like, because from my experience, right? Many of you know that my dad had significant injuries and all sorts of issues with that. I know for a fact that the brain is one area that's very, very delicate, and you want to really be very careful on how you navigate the brain. So hopefully that'll end up being okay. But anyway, we've got at least 6 months to sort of watch and see how this unfolds. But I thought I'd share that with you. I mean, talk about busy. I'm sure you're busy. I always say I'm busy, and I'm very, very busy. But running this many companies, many that are like publicly traded, you know, maybe maybe we would all turn a little loopy if we were running that many businesses at that type of an intensity. Who knows? But on the other note, I want to do a layoff library segment because we haven't done this in a bit, and I almost feel like in like almost a year. So layoff library segment is this: a lot of companies doing layoffs. In fact, today more companies making announcements, and some of these actually might be somewhat surprising to you. They're not so surprising to me just because in my experience, typically at the end of the year, a lot of companies do layoffs, and a lot of very successful companies, I should add, do layoffs. And this year is definitely that way. So today, in fact, we hear that CNN is going to be doing layoffs. That's right. CNN is doing layoffs. Warner Brothers Discovery, that's their parent company, is saying they're going to be doing some layoffs. But this is just the beginning. So many. Amazon.com is doing more layoffs. Facebook is doing layoffs. Ford Motor Car, Walmart, H&M, the fashion store as well as DoorDash, Snapchat, Snap, AMC, it goes on and on. So you might know someone who's going through a layoff. You might have this experience at your work, and just know that you're not alone. And there's resources out there. And if you have any questions, of course, you want to send me direct messages or articles that you're seeing in this space, or any business news that you think, oh, this is really interesting, we should talk about that. Definitely go on social media, send me a post. You can tag me on it and I'll see it. Or if you want to send it to me very via direct message more privately, that's perfectly fine too. My direct messages are open on Twitter, and a lot of people have been sending me content there, so feel free to do so. But a lot is happening, and I will tell you this: we are preparing some really, really cool content in the coming weeks. So I think 2023 is going to be quite a hit. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you more on that. But yeah, more layoffs, unfortunately. And in fact, I see Vicky commenting on this right now on Facebook Live. Here's the thing. What's really interesting about the layoff period this year, which is somewhat different from some of the previous years, is that you're actually seeing an uptick on layoffs in the white collar area. So this was interesting, right? So because typically we'll see like, travel industry or the airline industry do a whole bunch of layoffs, but typically it'll be more like non C-level or executive staff. But in this case, with a lot of these companies, we're actually seeing a lot of white collar layoffs. In fact, they're calling this sort of a white collar recession, if you will. So a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting things. But with that, that's what I've got for you this week. I'm going to definitely be back with you next week. We're going to have a lot more content to share. And of course, we're going to have that fun in the loop segment with Greg that we all love. But let me know what's on your radar when you're looking at your finances. If you're looking at businesses in your neighborhood, you're seeing interesting trends, you're reading something that you're thinking, oh, this would be actually really fun to learn more about, send it to me. I love to see it. And of course, I love to share it with so many of you on this show. And as a reminder, for those of you who are new to the show, or I guess haven't been here in a bit, you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and now also on Samsung. And I think we're adding some more platforms very soon as well. And of course, don't forget Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network. Definitely check it out and take a moment to share the stream and consider subscribing so that you'll never miss another live stream or future upload in the future. Thank you and be well. See you next week. Take care now.